Disclaimer: this story contains mature themes intended for adult viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. It started with something so small, so ordinary, that I never expected it would leave me breathless. The room was quiet except for the faint hum of the ceiling fan, its lazy rhythm brushing warm air across my skin. I had been struggling with the tie of my blouse, fingers fumbling, when he stepped closer, too close. His voice was low, calm, almost casual as he said, "Here, let me help you." But the moment his fingertips grazed the fabric near the nape of my neck, I felt the shift. The space between us tightened, the air heavy with a silence that spoke louder than words. His breath brushed against my ear as he leaned in, and suddenly, every sound, the rustle of cloth, the shallow catch in my throat, felt magnified. I told myself it was innocent, just a husband helping his wife. Yet, when his hands lingered just a second too long, when his knuckles brushed my skin instead of the cloth, I felt the spark coil inside me. My chest rose and fell more quickly, the rhythm betraying the calm face I tried to keep. I could feel him watching me, his gaze tracing every movement, every stilled breath. His fingers worked carefully at the knot, but they moved with a deliberate slowness, like each touch was a secret message only I could read. My own hands froze at my sides, not daring to move, afraid that one small gesture might shatter the fragile boundary we stood on. I tried to swallow down the heat climbing up my neck, but the closeness made it impossible. He was only supposed to fix the tie. That was all. Yet somehow, the quiet moment had turned into something neither of us named, but both of us felt. His fingers slid lower, brushing where fabric ended and skin began. The breath I held escaped in a soft gasp, and in that instant, time seemed to hesitate. What was he doing? What was I allowing? The blouse was still untied. The air between us was still charged. And his hands, they hadn't moved away. Everything that could happen next hung in the air, waiting, just one heartbeat away. The silence between us thickened, heavier than words could carry. His fingers brushed the edge of fabric again, this time slower, lingering as though he had forgotten what he was supposed to be doing. I felt my pulse quicken, each beat echoing in my ears, urging me to step forward, or maybe daring me not to. The mirror in front of us betrayed every detail. I saw his eyes not on the knot of my blouse, but on the curve of my shoulder, on the way my chest rose with each uneven breath. His gaze burned, and I knew he saw the same in mine. I should have looked away, but I couldn't. My reflection was locked with his, two silent confessions held in glass. "Almost done," he whispered, though the words trembled, betraying the calm he tried to keep. His breath grazed my neck again, warmer this time, softer, as if on purpose. I shivered, though the room wasn't cold. My lips parted, a sound caught at the edge of my throat, but no words came. His knuckles skimmed against my skin as he pretended to tug at the tie, and the contact sent a ripple through me I couldn't hide. My fingers, meant to remain steady at my sides, curled instead into the fabric of my skirt, anchoring me as heat spread through my chest. The distance between our bodies had narrowed to almost nothing. Each accidental brush of his hand felt less like accident, more like choice. My breath hitched again, and I knew he heard it, because his lips curved into the faintest, knowing smile. I turned slightly, just enough that my shoulder grazed against him. The touch was small, harmless on the surface, but it was enough to send the unspoken crashing louder into the air around us. Neither of us stepped back. Neither of us said what we should. The knot remained unfinished, the blouse still loose. His hands hovered just low enough to question, just high enough to deny. My heart thudded harder, my body leaned without permission. And in that fragile, breathless instant, I realized, we were standing on the edge of a line that, once crossed, could never be undone. The blouse was only half-tied, but neither of us seemed to care anymore. His fingers hovered, trembling as though the simple act of moving them an inch lower might change everything. My skin burned where he had touched me, yet the places he hadn't touched felt even more desperate, aching for contact. I tried to steady my breathing, but every inhale was shaky, every exhale too heavy. The room itself felt smaller, pressing us together, trapping us in this dangerous closeness we hadn't meant to create. My back brushed against his chest, just barely, but the contact sent a rush through me that left me dizzy. He caught it too. I heard the sharp intake of his breath, the way he shifted closer instead of away. His lips were near my ear now, so close I could feel the warmth of words he never said. The silence between us grew louder than anything else, filled with every possibility we both refused to name. "Do you want me to stop?" he whispered, his voice low, roughened by restraint. The question wasn't innocent, and he already knew the answer. My reflection in the mirror betrayed me, the parted lips, the flushed cheeks, the way my body leaned back against him without thought. I couldn't speak. My throat was dry, my heart hammering too wildly to form words. Instead, my silence became its own kind of answer. He seemed to hear it, to feel it, because his hands shifted again, grazing along the edge of fabric that had slipped loose. The air grew thick with anticipation, every second stretched unbearably long. His fingers lingered against my bare skin, not moving, not retreating, just hovering on the precipice of something we weren't supposed to touch. I turned my head slightly, our eyes locking in the mirror, his dark, steady, mine wide and unguarded. That look alone carried more heat than any touch could. We both knew we were standing in a fire we had started together, and neither of us had the will to put it out. And yet, we hadn't crossed the line. Not yet. The blouse remained untied. The words remained unspoken. But in the way his breath tangled with mine, in the trembling restraint of his hands, it was clear, we were only one heartbeat away from surrender. The mirror captured us like a secret neither of us could escape. His reflection loomed behind mine, a shadow wrapped in warmth, in temptation. His chest brushed against my back now, no more accidental, no more hesitant. It was deliberate, unspoken, and I could feel the strength of his heartbeat pounding through the thin layer of space that still barely separated us. His hands, once tentative, grew steadier, bolder. They traced the loosened tie of my blouse with agonizing slowness, fingertips brushing skin as though memorizing every inch. I gasped, sharp and unguarded, and his lips hovered closer to my ear, so near I swore I felt the shape of words he wasn't saying. The air was no longer just heavy, it was suffocating with need. My chest rose and fell too quickly, dragging his breath into mine, mingling in the stillness between us. Every shift, every slight touch, was magnified until it felt like my body was alive only where he touched me. I raised my hand, almost against my will, resting it lightly on the edge of the dresser. The move brought me closer, pressing me back against him. His sharp inhale trembled against my neck, and I saw it in the glass, the way his jaw tightened, the way desire flickered in his eyes, raw and unguarded. "Say it," he murmured, voice rough, low, nearly breaking. The words were more command than request, but still, I couldn't. My lips parted, but no sound came, only a breath, shaky and pleading in its silence. Instead of stepping away, he leaned in further, closing what little space remained. His hands slid lower, stopping just short of where they shouldn't. My body arched, unbidden, the movement so slight but so telling. The tension coiled tighter, hotter. Each second teetered on the knife's edge, balanced between restraint and the inevitable fall. His gaze locked with mine in the mirror again, dark, burning, a silent promise of what would happen if either of us gave in. And then, everything stilled. His hands froze, his lips just shy of my skin, the knot of my blouse still undone. The world around us felt suspended, fragile, waiting. We hadn't crossed it. Not yet. But the line was right there beneath our feet, daring us both to take that final step. The room had gone silent, save for the ragged rhythm of our breathing. His hand still lingered at the edge of my blouse, his lips close enough to scorch without touching. My reflection betrayed me, cheeks flushed, lips parted, eyes glassy with desire. I was caught, utterly, between resistance and surrender. And then, a sound. It was faint, almost nothing. A creak of the floorboard outside our door. My breath caught, my body stiffened. His grip faltered, only slightly, but enough to make our eyes snap toward each other in the mirror. Someone was there. Or had been. The interruption was fleeting, but it broke something open inside me. If someone had seen us, if someone had sensed this moment, it would be impossible to explain. The danger of it sent a thrill straight through me, hotter than before. He seemed to feel it too. His jaw clenched, his hands tightened against the loosened blouse tie, and when he leaned closer this time, it was no longer hesitant. His lips brushed my ear, featherlight, deliberate, daring me to stop him. I didn't. The silence outside returned, but the seed of interruption had changed everything. Suddenly, it wasn't just desire, it was risk. My pulse thundered louder, not only from him but from the possibility of being discovered, of standing too close to a fire that could burn more than just us. His fingers slid lower, grazing where fabric ended, and I nearly gasped aloud. I caught myself just in time, teeth sinking into my lip, my eyes locking with his reflection. He smirked faintly, seeing my restraint, knowing he was the cause. The atmosphere was suffocating now. Every brush of his breath against my skin felt like a challenge, every pause like a test of how far we could go before the world outside this room shattered the fragile spell. "Still want me to stop?" he whispered, his voice low and husky. I should have said yes. Instead, my silence gave me away again. He pressed closer, his chest flush against my back, his hands trembling but unmoving, caught in the war between control and surrender. The interruption had left us trapped, not just in the room, not just in this moment, but in ourselves. We were dangling on the edge, both terrified and addicted to what might come if we fell. And then, another sound. This time, a knock. Soft. Measured. From the door. I froze. He did too. The knock didn't come again, but the weight of it hung heavy, as if someone knew, as if someone had been waiting. His lips hovered at my neck, his hands gripped tighter at my waist, but neither of us moved to answer. We couldn't. The danger wasn't outside the door anymore. It was here, between us, inside us, pressing harder than ever before. And now, we had no way back. The knock still lingered in the air like a ghost, daring us to break apart. But neither of us moved. Instead, the silence pressed harder, and in that silence, something inside both of us snapped. His hands, trembling from restraint, pulled the loose tie of my blouse in one swift motion. Fabric slipped, bearing more than it should, and my sharp gasp broke the stillness. He didn't hesitate anymore, his lips found my neck, hot, demanding, tracing a path that made my knees weaken beneath me. I clutched at the dresser for balance, my reflection blurring as my body arched against his. His chest pressed firmly into my back, his grip tightening at my waist, as though anchoring me in a storm he'd unleashed. The air was no longer heavy, it was fire, wild and consuming, every brush of his mouth and every graze of his hand igniting sparks that burned straight through me. The restraint that had chained us for so long was gone. Every touch was bolder, every kiss deeper, every breath ragged and unashamed. It was raw, urgent, dangerous, like we had both been holding back for years, only to erupt in this single forbidden moment. And then, another sound. The door creaked open. I froze in his arms, blouse half fallen, lips parted in shock. He stilled too, but neither of us turned. In the mirror, I saw it first, a shadow slipping into the room, tall and unmistakable. It was him. My husband. Not the man holding me. The weight of the moment crashed into me like a wave. My heart stopped, my breath caught, the fire inside me smothered by the shock. The reflection told the truth, 2 men, 1 woman, and a betrayal that had just been unveiled. The man behind me didn't let go. His grip only tightened, his eyes locked on the mirror, defiant even under the husband's piercing gaze. My husband's face was unreadable, shadowed in the doorway, but his silence was louder than any scream could have been. And just like that, the climax of our secret shattered, no longer passion, but revelation. We weren't just standing on the edge anymore. We had already fallen. The silence in the room was unbearable. 3 reflections stared back from the mirror, mine, flushed and trembling, the man behind me, unyielding, hands still clinging to me, and my husband, shadowed in the doorway, his gaze sharp enough to slice through the air. For a moment, no one moved. My breath came shallow, caught between shame and defiance, between the fire I had given into and the bond one had betrayed. Then, slowly, the man behind me released his grip. His hands slid away from my waist, lingering for just a fraction of a second longer than they should have. The loss of his touch left me unsteady, cold, even though the room still burned with heat. I turned, not toward him, but toward my husband. His eyes didn't leave mine, steady and unreadable. There was no anger in them, no shouting, no accusations. Only a quiet, devastating intensity. In that silence, I understood, he had seen enough. More than enough. And yet, he didn't walk away. Instead, he stepped closer, into the dim light, his presence heavy and undeniable. My heart raced all over again, not from the man behind me this time, but from the weight of the husband I had thought I'd lost in the shadows. "Choose," he said at last, his voice low, rough, and steady. A single word, but it rang through me like thunder. The air grew thick again, but now it was a different kind of storm, desire twisted with consequence, temptation fused with truth. Both men stood close, one behind, one before, and I was caught in the center of a fire that could consume everything. I lifted my chin, my lips trembling as though a single breath could tip the balance. I didn't know if what burned inside me was love, lust, or something dangerous in between, but I knew there was no turning back. The blouse still hung loose around my shoulders, the knot never tied. And in that fragile, breathless moment, I realized, maybe it was never meant to be. Because some knots aren't meant to hold. And some fires are meant to keep burning long after the room goes dark.